Yes.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Scouting Mass. Welcome back. We're glad you joined us. Rich?
Good to see you, Alex. Back to our next episode in the series.
The RNA show.
The RNA show. When the RNA show is the shows where we don't have special guest stars.
Sometimes, especially around these holidays, the folks can't make it. And so what we've done today, what I've done today anyway, is I crowdsourced ideas. Some of these ideas came from a young woman that I work with who volunteers her time at a horse farm.
Oh, nice.
So we're connected. We're still connected to volunteerism and volunteering and scouting. And she got very excited when I started talking to her about this podcast and what we do. And she offered to work with us and, perhaps bring scouts to the horse farm.
Very
And
nice.
She
That's
wants
pretty cool.
she wants to come on the podcast, and she wants the horse farm owner, to come on the
Very
podcast.
good.
So we're hoping all that happens. But in the meantime, we just have the topics that the crowd has given me. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 7 topics for today. We can skip them.
With topic number 1, you may want to put on your headphones because I got a lot to say about that one.
Let's put on headphones.
Let's not make that topic number 1 then. Let's make that topic number 2 or 3.
Okay.
So that you can get your thoughts together.
That's
And we can introduce you into the conversation because I find that topic very fascinating as well.
all of these are very fascinating. Doing a quick scan of the outline, fascinating, especially coming from an equestrian person. So I'm like, what are you thinking of while you're grooming horses or mucking out stalls? It's like these are the things I'm thinking about while I'm working at the ranch. Yeah, perfect. The stables.
Very good. So seeing how I brought the things, you picked the first one.
Tell you what, we'll skip over one.
We'll skip
and
over
we'll
one,
Get back
but
to that as
you-
number
you
2,
pick the-
and we'll just move down the line. Then, so and this kind of really ties into something Peter and I were talking about, in a sense, a much grander, greater level view. But why is everything so complex? And
Well-
we were just chatting about maybe some subsets of that category before recording it here in the studio. So why is everything seem so complex? I guess is maybe it isn't, but it seems to be that way.
First of all, I guess we should do a little defining of what the question means, right? So I think she meant it in a very real sense. She meant why. So the question, once again, for everyone, is why is everything so complex? And this question is from a 30-something-year-old female who, she's traveled all around the world working for the Department of War, formerly the Department of Defense.
Still
And
the Department of Defense.
it is
Technically, it still is. Hasn't been
technically
changed.
still.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the order went out to make it. So
Congress has to change it.
yes.
Yeah, well, so it's just all internal stuff right
Yes,
now.
it's
Yeah.
all internal. We'll.
So
we'll
she
leave that to them.
works with you. It's not somebody I worked with previously, is it?
You
Oh,
did work-
Oh,
you did
Okay.
work
So
with
somebody, I'm sitting there busting out or mucking out stalls, right? Okay.
Yeah.
He's gonna write it down privately. So not to.
We of course are. Until she comes on the show, we're not going to share her name to just sort of respect
just to
her
protect
privacy.
the innocent.
Yes.
Yeah,
Do you remember this person from transportation?
I believe so. Yep.
And
Perfect.
so she's a wonderful.
Transportation, horses, it all comes together. Perfect. Yes.
So, relationships, jobs, politics. I don't mean politics in the sense of like what's happening in Washington, D.C. or in Boston. I mean politics in the grand sense of like, politics among people, politics among businessmen. Everything seems to have complexity in it. So let's start with, let me ask you that question first. Do you agree?
I would agree that things definitely seem complex.
So you don't necessarily
I don't
agree that
not,
everything is.
Not everything. That's a generalization, of course, and I don't think everything is complex. But a heck of a lot of things that used to feel simple do feel more complex now to me.
Say more.
Anything.
Pick an example that you.
Oh my gosh! Let's think of anything. I just was cranking off about something earlier today. What the heck was that? I think it was just going like the supermarket. That seems to be
For our audience, cranking off
yeah.
means complaining or criticizing.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
Sort of like blowing off steam.
Blowing
is
some
what-
steam. Yeah. So
Yeah.
you've got that. They may not know that.
Yeah. I speak rich.
Yeah, exactly. So you speak fluent. That was a supermarket. You go in, you pick up your stuff, you get what you want. Maybe you know some of the workers. That was something that used to happen years ago. You knew a lot of the local employees. You've got self checkouts now. You've got smart carts. I remember trying the smart cart a couple times. Hey, try this. This is the way everything's going. And I'm like, it's not working. It's not registering stuff. I had gone through self checkouts, which I used yesterday, and I do use them quickly depending on what I have. But a couple of times I've gone through and it was ringing up like bottle deposits, which I found really interesting because I didn't buy anything. It had no bottled beverages of any sort. So I'm like, how the heck do I get a bottle deposit chimed in for like a 12 pack when there's nothing here? So just crazy stuff like that. That seems to make me feel the simple act of grabbing a few groceries. It seems to make it more complex in that sense. And just some other things. I think that I think it's a bigger view that as we discuss for the next few minutes, we'll expand on that. That's just one thing. Tires, we talked about that recently in my car with a slow leak in the tire. Going somewhere, I won't mention the local company because I don't want to appear favoring or bias. And it's a good company, but I get there and like, hey, great. Well, we can't take you today. We've got 4-hour wait. I'm like, I didn't ask that. Can you get some air in the damn thing? I just need to find an air pump just to hold me over for, a week or something. And, oh yeah, we can do that. I'm like, thank you. Great. I mean, you have to have a technician come do it. You used to just have an air pump around back. You could go yourself and just pop in 32 pounds or whatever, not this time. So I've got to wait for the tech to open the door. And, he's busy because he's trying to take care of other vehicles, rotate tires, mount tires, whatever he's doing. They're busy. I get that. There's a change in the workforce to some degree. Not trying to slide off topic, but we see people complaining about jobs, but I do see lots of jobs being advertised almost everywhere I go. There are jobs. Now, maybe those aren't what someone's looking for. I get that. I see a lot of full-time jobs advertised. But, the tire place is like, yeah, we'll have to, can I make an appointment? No, you just have to come in and drop it off and wait around for 4 hours. I'm like, it's the winter. It's 4 hours. I'm going to have to walk about a mile to get anywhere, worthwhile to do something, to do something to keep me out of trouble rather than sit. There's nowhere to sit in there either. So I'm like, you're killing me, guys. And make sure it's a 50-degree day with pouring rain so I can walk to the supermarket to buy something and spend, 4 hours fighting with the self-checkout. I don't know. Maybe that'll get me to the tire getting repaired.
Yeah.
But just a couple examples. It does seem to be, years ago, the mom and pop gas station, I roll in, I got, a nail stuck in my tire or a screw or something. They're like, hold on, 10 minutes, be right with you. $25 later, I'm driving away with a plug in the tire. Life is good. And, just some things like that. And that's just a couple of my examples from the past week or so. How about yours? Your thoughts? Do you agree? Or
I do agree. Mm-hmm. I do agree that things are complex, and I think in my perspective, when I look out at the world, what I see is a series of processes. You know that
mm-hmm.
I inspect a lot, and
mm-hmm.
that I obviously the regulatory compliance that you and I did for a job, everything is a process, right? So I don't see many things as a single standalone task. I see things as being a process. Okay, so with that in mind, some of the processes that you and I are engaged in, changing tires, building tires, supermarket checkout, food supply chains, all these processes have been going on for a long time. And people have, innovated the process, and that information takes time to get out to everybody. Then you have to train your workforce. Then you have to use your example of the self-checkout, right? Mm-hmm. Now you have an added layer of IT, of computers, which obviously if they're programmed wrong, they're going to show you the bottle return instead of the chips that you're buying or whatever, right? So that's the computer is just a tool, and it can be used poorly. And we've come into this place where unfortunately, with the technology that we have at hand, everything is very convenient, but everything is very mixed. We have tons of things that are mixed with lots of different processes going on. As I said, training of the cashier, training of the person who enters the data into your self-checkout, programming the self-checkout. Same thing with the tire. I worked at a tire shop when I was a kid, and I enjoyed it, and I learned a lot about tires. I love anything to do with automotive stuff. And it's complicated, right? You have supply chains, you have deliveries from a warehouse to the place, you have worker shortages, another complexity added by the fact that we have a tire store, right, has huge financial pressures upon it. So the margins of profit are thin. So they have to hire people. They have to pay those people. Those people need to make enough money to be able to live, but the shop has to also pay their overhead, their bills, rent, electric. And these are competing responsibilities. Also, you have a competing shop down the road. Also, you have the internet, what's it called? Tire Rack, right? You have websites like Tire Rack on the internet, which will simply mail you tires, which you can mount and balance anywhere you want. So tire shops they can't expect to be like the one game in town where you buy tires.
Right. Not the one game in town anymore. Yep.
Right. So all this stuff just creates complexity, and I see it. I see it, policy, right? We know that there's been a lot of talk in the general public about reducing the number of policies. In the government, there's been talk of reducing the number of policies, making them shorter. I like that idea, right?
It makes a lot of sense on the
Makes
surface,
sense.
right? But there'd be processes to that to make that process more complex as well.
Exactly.
And I'm thinking back to, not to interrupt your thought. I'm
Not
sorry.
at all. Not at all.
Thinking back years ago in college, reading an article, I forget which class it was. It was an article about the post-World War II decade or two, where technology really advanced because of the war effort, and in that technology, of course, transferred things used in the military, production lines, medical things, household stuff. This is where, we watched, this is like pretty much unbelievable for people of a certain age. But I recall my parents talking about getting food, the phrase, the ice box. You hear that used on a lot of sitcoms and old TV shows. The ice box was the wooden box that they'd pick up blocks of ice to chill food, keep it refrigerated before electric refrigerators or other methods of refrigeration. And they would do that and have these ice wagons, horse-drawn, back to equestrians, ice wagons coming down in the 1930s and 40s even, which to me does not seem that far ago. But all of a sudden we've got refrigeration coming in. We've got these companies producing this, which were companies that were involved with the war effort. They're, again, technology transfer, which is taking those skills and processes and bringing them to the civilian world or to another aspect or industry. So they're making refrigerators. They're making washing machines. They're making, dishwashers, all these things. And they're, at the time, this sounds sexist, but this is the talking about the housewives, which was the predominant role for females at the time. And that those generations there would be the stay-at-home mom type thing, and the dutiful housewife would take care of the house, do a lot of this work that women are still doing a lot, plus having a career, and some men are doing as well. They're talking about how this is going to make the housewife's life so much easier with the electric dishwasher, the washing machine, the dryer, the refrigerator. This is going to make life so much more convenient and relaxing. And it didn't turn out that way because, of course, by just taking over certain tasks that saved some time, gave her, or in the case of a gentleman at home or single person, gave them much more time to either work or child rear or go to school or do something else. So at first that might have been filled with some hobbies and activities, leisure activities. Eventually that kind of morphed into something else with people's work ethic, working hard in companies, working overtime, chasing the American dream. So it didn't necessarily offer that much convenience. It offered convenience. It didn't free up as much time because those time blocks were quickly filled with some other things that needed to get done. So I guess it's been complex for a while. If we look at, depends on frame of reference and experience.
And there's
I think the same thing. I was talking to somebody the other day, say, you know what? My grandparents didn't have to worry about some of the stuff we all have to worry about with mostly technology, right? That we have everything instantaneous on our cell phones, our computers. We can grab information. Peter in the booth can grab music right now, sound effects if we ask for them. We ask for something now, I guarantee you in about 15 seconds he can have it because it's at his fingertips. It's at our fingertips. You know, I was talking to somebody like anybody still writes a check. A lot of people don't. Some people do. I still do occasionally. But when you had started a new bank or you had some new checks come in years ago, you just throw those in the trash. You didn't think twice about it. Now you have to burn, shred, destroy because people are rummaging through your garbage, folks. I don't know where this comes from. It's got to be like a Cold War spy thing that's left over, turns into industrial espionage and then into the identity theft. It just kind of morphed into that over the years. But you've got to watch your identity theft, your personal information getting out there. You have to be careful. So yeah, it's changed with a lot of these conveniences. Again, information technology rapidly giving us our banking info, transferring funds online, purchasing online has just changed, create this whole new dynamic. Even that clearing your trail electronically. So.
And there's another thing that intervenes here, which is to say, the present only occurs for a nanosecond, right? And then everything that we conceptualize of is the immediate past or the more distant past.
Right.
But we're going through life kind of like we're like a ship parting the ocean, right? We're the bow of that ship. We're forever entering the future. We're
time traveling. Time traveling.
I don't know.
We're moving forward through time. Yes.
We can save that for the next topic. You know, with that.
I'll segue to that in a few minutes. I've got a
But I think
bridge.
I'm reminded of a quote from The Hobbit, which is to say that Frodo said to Gandalf, "I wish this hadn't happened in my time." And he was talking about, the bad things that were happening in the Middle Earth with Sauron. And Gandalf says back to him, "Everybody wishes that to whom, great, terrible things are happening. The only question is, what do you do with the time you have, right? What do you do with it?" So we're forever afraid of what's coming next because it's new and we have to learn it, right? And we're also dealing with everything that's happening now. So, in my novel series by Patrick O'Brian that I read, the sailors they have to do nothing except man the ship, right? Their food is provided for them. They can sleep on the ship, but they have complexities. They have the complexities of dealing with the enemy. They have the complexities of not knowing how to swim, learning the names of the ropes, which are incredibly complex. So everybody at all times had complexity, and adding anything new made it harder.
Harder, yeah.
So all of us are forever dealing with what we're dealing now and with what's being added to our plate, and it's just called overwhelming, right? It's just called everything's happening.
And you try to embrace that. I mean, I've tried to embrace technology and change, and I'm laughing because I've been at a few events and people were trying to flip out business cards. People in their 30s and 40s. I'm like, dude, got the electronic, just here, touch the phone. I said, the old guy's got that set there. What's going on? Yeah, absolutely. One or two little things can, this is where you see people get set off a little bit, where we also have to remember technology is great, innovation's great. It's still good to kind of have some basic skills. The younger,
but not every technology.
Not everything. No.
Sometimes the technology comes along and it's given to you, and it's like it's the greatest thing. Laser discs, 8 tracks. Who has 8 tracks and laser discs anymore? Right? Not nobody. Yeah. CDs gone, tapes gone.
You're back to vinyl.
But people did spend hundreds at some point acquiring the technology to play tapes, and so sometimes we're fooled. Let's put it nicely into thinking that a new technology is fantastic.
Technology, it can be. We can be fooled, and I was just kind of bringing that around a little bit to, some of the things we do in scouting, some of the skills we teach kids, right? Fire building, setting up a shelter, edible plants, things where, hey, guess what? If you're lost in the woods, your smartphone's probably not going to be able to start a fire. It might be able to tell you how if you've got service. How how do you do this? So you're learning some things. These old skills aren't necessarily archaic or obsolete.
And even if they're not used every day, even if you
Exactly.
don't build a fire, you have I don't work on my car every day, but I'm
Right.
confident because I know how.
Exactly. And it's
You're
something you
confident
can,
'cause
if you need
I've
to do that,
mastered.
I can bring the skill out. I know which way I can find north. I can look at the stars and identify, reckoning. The sailors used to do that back to the nautical example. The dead reckoning and the astrolabes and the sextants finding their way using the stars and positions of the heavens to navigate across a sea. Strangely enough, I think it was an article I read a few years ago. The Naval Academy taught that up until the mid 90s, I believe. They go, hey, we have GPS, we have computers, we don't need to teach that anymore. And I think about 10, 15 years ago, they're like, hey, we need to teach that again because nobody knows how to do it. So we need to make sure our captains or our deck officers know how to use this skill in the event they require it. So it's good to kind of have those. I think myself, the technology does rapidly move along sometimes and drives me crazy. I remember hooking up years ago VCRs to TVs to cable, no problem. I got the series, I'm doing great. And a few years ago, I'm having like a mini meltdown because I'm like, I can't figure out how to get this all in sync so I can watch a VCR. My VCR, my DVD player, my cable. I'm trying to get everything hooked up, and I can't figure it out. Eventually, I did, but it used to be very easy. And I think you just add one more thing in there, one more item like the DVD player, and just kind of threw me off.
And you see that a lot
Yeah.
in not just I was going to say you see that a lot in older folks, but it's not just older folks,
No.
right? Like you see it a lot in people. Sometimes sometimes the people who own the technology, the corporations that make the technology, they don't support the previous technology anymore. So you're kind of forced into the new one.
Right.
But maybe like you kept saying VCR, right? Maybe like you, it's like, well, wait a minute. I have these 300 video cassette tapes. I'd like to not just throw them out the window. I'd like to watch some of these movies again. And so I want to keep this technology going, but they're forcing you to move into a pay-per-view or on
Yeah, all
demand.
my music is all in one format. My
Right.
my videos. How do I enjoy these things? And yeah, I think about. Started replicating my vinyl albums years ago onto CD, and I gave up on that after a while. I just duplicating everything. Still have the vinyl, still have the CDs. Didn't complete the collection because I was trying to just match everything up.
And now the
And I just
vinyl
stopped.
is,
Now the vinyl's back, and it's
people like the pops and hisses.
pops and hisses,
They got
it's-
character now.
and that's what it is. They're looking at the character. It's nostalgic for some people.
Yeah.
Some people are discovering it for the first time and,
Yeah.
and finding it endearing, which is I always liked it. It didn't seem to me the CDs, the digital seem a little cold and sterile, and I think it's kind of nice to have the squeak of the guitar strings when someone's playing a solo. Just kind of nice. You feel like you're in the room. For me in that case, but yeah, it's interesting.
I liked how you brought it back around to scouting and basic skills because I was thinking when we started talking about this, like, well, what is the antidote to this type of stress, right? And the antidote, perhaps I'm suggesting that one antidote could be defining who you are and what's valuable to you and what is not valuable to you. Sometimes that's described as finding your no, and it can work in a lot of different situations, negotiations, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
But if you define what is important and something comes along that doesn't fit that, you might be able to eliminate it because you've already made that definition. So you touched on scouting and building fires and tying knots or something that you might think, oh, not relevant in the world of microchips and computers, but perhaps it is because it's not just a physical task, it's also a self-definition task that then shapes who you are
Right.
and what you're capable of. And that helps clear up, like, this is who I am. I don't need to,
Yeah, and sometimes removing the technology as much as it's has a great purpose, and I rely on it quite a bit myself. Yeah, and it's just, but I embrace a lot of it and enjoy a lot of it. And then part of me gets frustrated when someone's like, what do you mean something's down? I can't do this. Oh my God, I can't use this. Like, what did I do before then? Where's a book? Let me find a book. But it's kind of interesting back to the person that you spoke to about some of the topics. Just working on the horse farm, the equestrian stuff. And I made the comment, kind of humorously about mucking out stalls and grooming horses, but that's part of the job. And I would call that a phrase I borrowed from somebody else, and it's not used in the context we all think of, and I call it occupational therapy, and it's not used in the medical sense, but in the sense sometimes it's good to, people like gardening, farming, get out and get your hands dirty, or play with your dogs or your animals, or take care of the chickens you have there, or build a pergola, or whatever you're doing. Get out and do something that's not technical. And a lot of your work, at least the past few years since I've known you, has been technology based, administrative based, like mine, which is sitting at a computer. Before that was a desk with paperwork, typewriter, and in creating things, documents and things, which is kind of dry and boring to a lot of people.
It can be.
There's an interesting portion to it as well, with some of the research and the negotiation and the social side of it. But yeah, it's a great breakaway when you're doing something like that. It's good to get out, get some fresh air, do something, whether you're playing basketball with your friends, hiking, swimming, whatever. It's just a nice change, going out, sky watching, whatever you're going to do.
There's something to be said for physical activity, right? We now know that physical activity produces endorphins. It, helps process blood through the brain more quickly. The heart, I should say, helps pump blood through the brain more quickly. It oxygenates the brain. It focuses you. That's something I used to love about riding motorcycle. It's not particularly hard physically, but you have to focus because it's dangerous, right?
Right.
And that focus, the need to focus, pulls you away from whatever stressed you out earlier, because your mind has to be in the here and now. If you're mucking out a horse stall and there's a horse in there, or it's kind of hard, you have to pay attention to what you're doing. You don't want to slip, whatever.
Or again, you're responsible for the health and welfare of that horse.
The health of that horse.
So you take care of that animal that you are focusing on right now,
and it takes you away from yourself and the things that were bothering
you. Get away from the stupidity, as a phrase we used earlier before we went on the air, of some of the nuances of daily life. In very strange, but. I think we were ready to maybe bridge to another topic.
Speaking of complexity, Peter, we're going to bridge to the topic that you're excited about. But last word on this.
Yeah.
One last word on this. So the antidote, and this is an endless topic that we can talk about forever. But I hope that there are young folks in the audience who are listening to us and can hear us say, "Hey, it's normal to be a little overwhelmed sometimes. There's a lot coming at you all the time. And the path out of that, the path to deal with that, is to focus on the here and now, make your brain connect to the here and now, disconnect yourself from the stressor, do something else, do something physical, do something that's good for somebody else, so that it's not just about you.
But it's okay if something you enjoy.
Yeah.
And that's okay too. And movies, if you like movies. Independence Day. Remember Independence Day?
Of course I do.
And just speaking of technology transfer, I think one of my favorite scenes I had to laugh at is, I think it was Jeff Goldblum that shoves a 3.25-inch disc into the alien spaceship.
Right.
And thank God the aliens had Windows 95.
Exactly.
That's how we destroyed them.
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
I was sitting there thinking, like, the only way that would make any kind of sense if that technology was alien technology that was developed, from retrieved spacecraft to Area 51, introduced into the mainstream public, and of course the aliens who attacked are using a piece of crap old spaceship that's using old technology by their standard. So it was just really funny.
Yours is the uncharitable explanation. Here's the charitable explanation. These guys were so far ahead that whatever media you fed into their computer, the computer instantly recognized, like, oh, of course, this is a DVD created on Earth in 19 exactly created on Earth in 1980.
That's good. See, this is back in 1995. I didn't think that far.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, something like that. Windows 95 was already delayed a couple years, I believe.
So we'll get ready. You've telegraphed it, but go ahead and introduce the next topic.
The next line too. I have to throw out a song lyric too. Peter will probably get this.
Uh-oh.
So we got some jazz and music here. That's our signal. So remember, whenever you feel alone, put on the phones and let the drummer tell your heart what to do. So we get the phones on. That was a old Jim
Put on your
Steinman
headphones, listen to
reference.
the lyrics.
You've never tried? I haven't tried these headsets yet. Let's see what they're like.
We can hear Peter when we start getting in, so make sure I can hear Peter.
It might be terrible to find out what I sound like.
It'll be on the best of collection. You'll be able to take that, listen to that, bring it to your wife, like, hey, enjoy this.
All right, wait a minute. Let me start this over again. You have to listen to the lyrics.
Okay.
This will lead into your topic.
I played Polybius in Area 51. A secret code inside the Bible said I was.
Secret code inside the box.
I love
Okay.
my UFOs and paranormal fun as well as music. So I'm singing it like
great.
I should. But then another conspiracy theory becomes the truth, my friends. And it never ends. No, it never ends.
My
Yeah.
favorite channel on YouTube right now, the Y-Files.
Nice.
That's their theme song.
their
What,
theme.
what did they discuss? What is?
You really have to experience it. They tackle all topics of all kinds of stories, everything from the lost colony of Atlantis to UFOs, and have our presidents met with aliens? Do they have deals with them? Have the technological advances of the last 30 or 40 or 50 years come from a deal with an alien race? And was it the right deal? Have we gone to Mars? Have
So
we gone to the moon? Are we
so-
still there at the moon?
I take it that you are fairly well versed. I mean, it sounds like these are the standard ideas, right? That after Hiroshima and Nagasaki and all the nuclear experiments that took place before and after World War II, aliens, and that's our topic, of course, aliens
you have a guess.
noticed the Earth.
That's the Star Trek version.
It's not only the Star Trek version, it's also one of the basic ideas that I'll think of the man's name in a minute. Terrence.
There was Philip K. Dick was a huge writer
I know Philip K. Dick. Yeah.
who believes in all kinds of alternate realities. I believe in all that kind of stuff.
Do you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Tell me more.
We're very vain as a species to think we're the only intelligent life in the universe.
It's
Very,
kind of
very-
presumptuous, isn't it? Like we're the
very
only intelligent
vain.
life. Yes.
Very vain. There's no way unless
Terrence McKenna is who I was
Okay.
referring to. He's. I think his big theory is the stoned ape theory, which we'll talk about in a minute. But please continue, Peter.
The caveat is, unless we're in a simulation, in which case, if you watch the best simulations out there now, they only render what you need to see. So there's a certain experiments you can do that particles go through a certain way, only if you're looking at them.
This sounds
They
kind of complex.
behave-
You're talking. Yeah,
Sounds
you're-
complex.
They
yeah,
behave
yeah.
differently if you're not looking at them.
Right, you're
Does
talking
that
about-
mean is our simulation only rendering it when we're looking at it to behave like the laws of physics in our universe or not?
You know, you and I are.
I love it.
You and I are the perfect two people to have this conversation, because you say I believe in that stuff, and I'm on the complete opposite end of that. I think that everything has a more rational explanation. So let's take that one thing, right? So I could be wrong about this, and I hope somebody writes us emails and corrects us, or maybe somebody will tell us right now. I think the thing about how a particle reacts when it's being watched versus when it's not being watched is part of the bigger discussion of Heisenberg's indeterminacy principle, which says that you can know a particle's velocity, or you can know a particle's exact position, but you can't know both. And in that, they noticed that some particles have something called, I believe it's called spooky action at a distance, right? And that's part of what you're talking about, where particles' motion in the now seems to affect other particles' motion in the past or in the future, and that goes into the observing the particle, and the particle acts differently.
Right.
Are you connecting with?
Sometimes it's acting like a wave, and sometimes it's acting like a particle.
Do you know about black matter?
Yep. Dark matter.
Thank you. Dark matter. Dark matter, for those among our audience who don't know,
And me
It's
as
an easy
well.
way to
It's,
it's an easy way to solve an equation that doesn't quite work.
dark matter is a hypothetical mass in the universe, but more specifically in our galaxy, which astronomers say is the thing that provides the force that keeps planets spinning as they do, because the old theory of the mass of the sun being counterbalanced by the inertia of the spinning body, the two forces don't line up. So
Right.
the Newtonian physics doesn't work, and then you got to go to
Yeah, the equation doesn't work.
doesn't work. And
There's
so
not
the-
enough mass.
And so they hypothesize that there's an invisible mass, a dark matter.
It's almost like being a weatherman. The equation doesn't work, but we got this mysterious thing that we don't know that if it exists or it doesn't exist, and we can't really prove it, but it's there. Just like abundant energy. There's people who have create abundant energy machines that seem to pull electricity out of nowhere.
Well, we're still so early, right? So just the other day, I was listening to this great podcast about a guy who is the CEO of a company called Helion. Apparently, Helion is a form of helium where one of the electrons has been absorbed away from the helium, and
So it's an isotope.
it's an isotope. And so the isotope becomes more unstable because what this company Helion does is they try to create fusion, right? The cleanest.
The Holy Grail.
The Holy Grail. And we can talk about the National Ignition Center, or no, National Ignition Foundation, NIF, out in California. We can talk about that if you want, talk about anything you want. But we know now that Newtonian physics and quantum physics don't have the same properties, right? But we didn't know that 100 years ago. What will we not know 100 years from now, right? Right now, we postulate these things and we say, oh, there could be aliens that are watching us. There could be aliens that gave us technology. There could be aliens that are so small that they live on the edge of the paint of your coffee cup, man, and they're just like checking you out. And all that may be true. I recognize
I
that
seem to think that the Men in Black have given us glimpses into what's really going on,
oh boy.
because I don't know if you've noticed, but there's been a lot of stuff leaking lately, and it comes out in these things because what they said, one person can handle the fact that aliens exist. Society cannot handle the fact that aliens exist because there'd be mass panic.
In
I've
all the
heard
states
that.
or just in mass?
Yeah, I've heard that years ago. I've heard that same argument many years ago.
Yep.
And you know what? But something, Alex was just talking about the science. We don't know what we're going to know 100 years from now, 1,000 years from now. And I've said this in very very super layman's terms. There's a lot of science hasn't been discovered yet. We just know that we're still learning things we're finding out now. Just look at those technology jumps. Talking about the previous topic from the horse and wagons, and it's still being used in the 1940s to landing things on the moon,
I've
launching
seen
things into
horses in
orbit.
the present day.
And
Advanced
yeah,
technology
exactly.
is akin to magic.
Yeah, exactly.
Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic.
Yep.
So, aliens. Okay, Peter, I grant you that they exist, that they potentially exist. I grant you that there are far too many planets for it to be out of the question. I grant you that light years are incredibly distant things, and so we may not have met them yet, or we may already have met them. And what was that movie? Oh goodness! What was the movie where the people were like lizard people, but they had like a projection that hid them?
That's
and
most Doctor Who episodes.
the glasses.
Yeah, it's the glasses.
Roddy
Piper.
Roddy Piper was it?
They live.
They live. Do you remember They Live?
85 or something? Yeah.
Peter, you remember They Live?
Vaguely.
Vaguely. Oh
That's
my God!
that's
No,
about
no,
how
no,
much
no.
I remember it too. Yeah.
That movie gave us the classic line, which most of the world knows about. I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick butt, and I'm all out of bubblegum. I mean, with a
Yeah.
line like that, I don't think we need deeper philosophy, you know?
That's kind of says it all. That's
But Peter, what makes you, I'm not a judgy person. I'm more of a curious person. What
Me
makes
too.
you believe? Like it seems to me that the foundation of your belief has to be faith, unless you've seen something, and maybe you have, and I'm not,
I've seen paranormal things that I shouldn't probably have seen. That I've seen more than my share of a quote unquote ghost, but a paranormal apparition.
Will you?
And
speak
apparently,
about it?
I'm more receptive to it than I thought. But yeah, Munson Town Hall. When I was young, I saw a woman sitting up in the balcony of Munson Town Hall, the original town hall called Memorial Hall. Walked by. I was setting up the room for the selectmen's meeting. Walked back, still up there. Motioned, waved, no response. I was like, maybe they got Daughters of the American Revolution, had their room up there in period costume. So I'm like, maybe they have a meeting going on. Maybe they're doing something up there. I don't know about it. I'm just setting up my stuff. I mentioned it to the selectman's secretary, who's also the town historian. And she goes, oh, yeah, that's so-and-so. They died in this building, and they were part of the Daughters of the American Revolution. And you're not the first, and you probably won't be the last. The fact that apparently she was appearing for quite some time was pretty rare.
Yeah,
The fact that I could see her sitting in the balcony as a full apparition for quite some time.
yeah.
So it's,
Interesting.
my roommate saw my dad just after he passed. Thought he came to visit me. Didn't know he had passed. Saw him sitting in his chair that I had inherited when he bought a new chair. Got the old one. He was sitting in it. She swears he was sitting there. She waved to him, stuck her head in, waved to him, went in her room, thought he was waiting for me because he did have the key to my apartment, and she saw him. So there's been other things that have happened along the way that lead me to believe that there's more, whether it be interdimensional or paranormal or whatever, these things exist.
Your experience involves multiple people, and when that happens, and I'm sure there was a thing in New Hampshire where multiple people saw a craft, and the authorities of New Hampshire actually posted a sign there that in such and such a date, 1965, whatever, 300 people saw this, and in Arizona there was a mass sighting of a craft by thousands of people who were gathered there for some political speech. Somebody was making a speech. I don't recall those details, but it wasn't one person seeing something where you could dismiss it as,
Right.
they had an illusion,
A delusion, yeah.
right.
It's like what's the thing in the desert where you see
Mirage.
a mirage,
Right.
exactly, like
Which is explained by physics.
Which
It's
can
just
be
light
explained by-
refraction and moisture and things.
So I think about half of those sightings nowadays can be described away basically as covert military technology that we're not aware of. But that's only half of them.
you're thinking of the TikTok David Fravor sightings and videos. Yes.
Yeah. Well, and the military stuff, some of the military stuff, some of the stuff people out in the desert see stuff.
Well, it's not just the desert. I've told you my story before. I don't think I've told Peter back. I'll tell you when it was. It was between summer and fall of 1983. And help me out. It's been a long time since I've been on that road, Peter. I think it's Route 32 between like Three Rivers and Belchertown and Amherst.
You're not the only one that's seen plenty of sightings out there. Stella Lansing did it for decades.
I was driving with a girlfriend in a car.
This is a weird one.
This is a weird one, right? So we're driving along the state highway. Just have music on, just cruising along. It's warmer weather because I know the windows are down. And you remember how some of the older cars would idle? I mean, they'll move along and really crawl.
Yeah, the idle
So
would pull the
it
car.
pull the
forward.
car like a half mile an hour or something, right? You just
Yeah.
kind of move along. We're driving along there, and I won't use like the exact phrase, right? Because that wouldn't be right. But it was something like, "What the heck is that?" My girlfriend scoots way over a bench seat, right up next to me. I'm hanging out the window, looking up, probably honestly about the height of the ceiling. How high is this from the floor?
About 8 feet.
About 8 feet, probably about 8 to 10 feet above us. There's another car. It's idling. It's just tractoring along with the idle. I'm right on the line. This car's coming the other direction. The gentleman in there with his wife or girlfriend, she's scooted up to him. He looks at me and goes, "What the heck is that?" I don't even know who this guy is. I'm like, we're close enough and slow enough. I'm like, I don't know. And I can see seams on this craft. It was something that was very large, dark, triangular, had little lights, but the lights I would call I would call running lights, but they're not running lights.
Marker lights.
They remind me of like the movie theater. They have those little stupid lights along the aisles that you
Or on
still
a
can't see.
plane.
Yeah, just
Yeah,
like that.
little
Just some
LEDs.
little like LED type things.
Yeah.
And we're like, what the heck? And I think I punched out, it was like an old 1970 Chevy Chevelle, and I think we did like 90, back into civilization. Right after seeing that, and that was back then too, and that's not something.
So-
that time frame is something you wouldn't report that. I was in the military. I'm not reporting that because what's going to happen at that point in time. Nowadays, everyone's like, "Oh, I saw this. This is great."
So here's the thing.
Yes.
At the same time you observed that, Stella Lansing had been documenting similar sightings of similar craft in the Palmer Ware, that area, Ludlow area,
Where?
for 2 decades. Palmer, Munson, Ware,
Three Rivers.
Ludlow.
Where?
Right. Hey, I worked at WARE. I can say it. But she had been documenting. She had filing cabinets
Oh my gosh.
full of pictures and documented sightings over the years. I have an engineer that I know that worked for Channel 40 and worked at the transmitter at Mount Tom and would regularly see craft hover over the main runway at Westover and then over the bunkers that fed planes at said airbase
Right.
with nuclear weapons. But he saw one sitting there he estimated from the top of Mount Tom between 1,000 and 1,500 feet, just sit there parked over the center line of the runway at about the midspan for several minutes and documented it in his log at the transmitter site.
Yeah.
So these things were happening all over the place.
So that's not so far. And I've not heard any of
And
these other stories. So this is fascinating.
Stella was profiled when they had the mystery show. The guy that Robert Stack hosted it.
Yeah, it was called Unsolved Mysteries.
Unsolved-
Right.
Softness, yeah.
She was profiled on that show. She had several articles written about her locally. And she had filing cabinets. We stumbled across her and talked to her for over an hour at her house, and the stories she told about sightings and things like that were amazing. But she had been documenting them for years.
Wow, that's fascinating.
Is this woman Stella still alive?
No, she's passed. She's passed.
Is
she was
anybody
in her-
continuing her work?
I don't believe so. People thought she was a crackpot. I
Well,
didn't.
of course, yeah.
And that was
I
the,
didn't.
that was the thinking, right? Back in the day, and I said 1983. I'm in the military. I'm not telling people, "Hey, guess what I saw?" I'm not calling the police. I'm moving on. Now, again, this happened tomorrow. I'd be like, "Check this out."
Visitors at the time. At that time, I call them visitors because you don't know what to call them. Were all over Westover because of the nukes there, because of the SAC base there, and because of the role that it played even after the B-52s left the building.
Right.
Because for a long time that SAC base was still active even after the B-52s left. Only when it was decommissioned did people say they stopped seeing a lot of activity.
Right.
in
There
the
was
area.
the 52s were out in like 74.
Yep.
Late 70s, I thought.
Yeah, and then it was
I think
had
we
a
got to
reserve
seven-
mission, but as you say, there's still things that were stored there. There's still facilities. I know the notch was not turned over or sold to. I think it's the 5 colleges or Amherst College. I don't think that was done for
Till
many,
the
many
90s.
years.
Till the 90s, I think.
Yeah, many years later. So there was still a presence there. There were still some things happening, and you've got the somebody called the Underground City over there that is still in existence. That if you can get down there and
My dad worked in there.
oh, nice, the
Laid
yeah.
floors, tile floors in there.
Nice.
Said you never worked in the same room twice.
Yep.
So I there's some stuff that that's there, and some of it's government activity, and some of it's
Oh,
not.
absolutely. I look years later, and one of our former directors, when we worked together, Peter, had worked on the stealth aircraft of the Air Force, which he told us about years after the fact. And I'm like, some of the my visual recollection of what I saw resembled stealth aircraft,
but not
So-
that slow.
but not that slow, right? But I don't know what was going on then. I don't know what technologies released. I'm a military guy, so I know for a fact that everything people are talking about, hey, check out what the Air Force or the Navy's doing right now. Well, that's just what you're being allowed to hear.
Right.
And
Stuff
so
that we
there's
know
stuff-
about is 20 to 30 years behind.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. That could have been a military aircraft testing. Where would you test it? Area 51? Hell no. Everybody's out there watching stuff. You're going to fly this thing over rural New England, by a reserve base that's not flying alert missions. Maybe that's a good place to test it and fairly safe. You never know.
I don't know if I should reveal this on
a national or
radio,
local
but
radio.
Peter, I'm going to go on a limb and reveal something very secret to you. Do you know what military vehicles run on?
Usually they run on diesel.
No, they run on military bearings.
Oh boy. All of a sudden he's turned
you're right. He's
turned
actually
into
right.
he's turned into my Thursday morning host.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. And I was just also going to add, you shouldn't have said that. That's correct.
The thing I want to say.
Wait a minute.
Now you know
the rest of the story.
of the story.
I want to say something about Rich. So I've known Rich for approximately 10 years, 3 months shy of 10 years. And I met him in 2016, in March of 2016. And I've known him to be a truthful, calm, not particularly emotional person, certainly not given to telling stories. So I had a really tough time when you told me that story. I had a really tough time with it because, as I said earlier to Peter, I am not a believer. I have wanted to see anything
Right.
all my life, and I haven't ever seen anything. And I was going to say it bothered me, but that's not the right word. It bothered my confidence, is what I should say, to have you, who I trusted to not talk nonsense, tell me that story. Like, could there be an explanation for what you saw?
Absolutely.
Yes. But do I think you're lying about what you saw? 100% no. That's what makes it so tough,
That happened, strangely enough, I told that story to another friend who's also a military member. And same thing, he started off like, I don't believe it, that's bunk, it's garbage. I said, well, wait a minute, let me tell you something. He sat there wide-eyed and says, I have a different perspective now because you're not making up stuff. You don't tell lies, you don't tell stories.
You didn't
I know
change-
I know the story doesn't change.
No, you
And-
didn't change my perspective.
No.
Because I'm still skeptical.
Oh, of
That's
course.
just my
I'm an
default.
open-minded skeptic.
I'm an
And
open-minded
involved,
skeptic.
as you're aware, and Peter's aware with the paranormal group as well. I'm an open-minded skeptic. Yeah, we try to debunk things, and it's the same with this. I'm not saying this was from
Yeah.
Alpha Centauri. I'm not saying that. Maybe it was. Maybe it was from Nevada. I have no idea.
Was there any
Maybe it
kind
was
of
from
small bumper sticker that said Earth or bust or
yeah,
anything like that?
it could have been from Uzbekistan. I don't freaking know. I mean,
doubt
it's
it.
1983, and that was part of the big USSR. You don't know. You don't know where it came from. I doubt it too, but I don't know where it came from. I saw it. Three other people saw it, and it was just really, at least in that.
And you
immediate
had
vicinity.
backup because Stella was documenting
and that was
similar
I'm just,
stuff at
first
the
I've
same
heard of it.
time.
First I've heard of that, and it's fantastic because I've looked at some of the Project Blue Book files I have online from the Air Force. Look at that locale. I'm trying to pinpoint something. I see no reports in that area around that time frame. I looked at the MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network, which is a large worldwide group that does UFO research of sightings and things. Their idea is try to debunk this as well, and couldn't find anything in their records from that time frame. So again, I'm not the guy calling in. I was looking actually say, is there a database I can contribute to?
Make a record of it, yeah.
Just make a record of it at that point. But it's a memory. It's just it's just embedded in there now. It's not coming out. It's indelible. And it was an interesting thing to see. And strangely enough, along those lines were things you don't believe in. I did see a psychic a few years ago who said, "Oh, somebody's coming through. They said they told me to tell you you've seen a UFO." And I'm like, "Yeah." And you'll see another one too coming soon. I'm like, great, thanks.
Well, that one I can dismiss
That one,
fairly
yeah.
easily because I've seen that trick done.
Yeah.
Right? So there's a way of asking questions where
Oh, the John Edwards cold reads. I can do
Yes.
cold reads. I can do a cold read
Yes,
with somebody.
yes, that whole thing.
This person actually, I had some other experiences, and they are a mutual friend of three people that we worked with. Jeff Engineering. He was a skeptic until he met her, and she revealed something about his deceased brother that she had no way of knowing, and some other stuff. So, I take that with a grain of salt. Like, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can tell me, you watch the John Edwards guy. He's like, a woman in the room. I've got a woman coming through, an older woman. Older is great. Could be 28 to 58, 68, 78. Name begins with a J, J sound. Somebody says Ginger. Yeah, Ginger. It's with a G, Ginger. Yeah, he'll jump in. Somebody jumps in because they want to be part of the action in those rooms.
And they
want to
reveal
be,
something.
They reveal something because they're not thinking they're revealing it. Myself, I'm very tight-lipped. I really don't acknowledge too much, and I don't give away information when I have seen people like that. It's like, you tell me something.
Right, exactly.
I'm
In
not
today's age,
jumping on that. Yeah.
It's even easier to do that because if I know your last name and I Google you,
you can find all kinds of stuff.
I might be able to say, oh, here's this woman named Stevie Nicks that lived at the same address. Be like, I'm sensing that you knew somebody named Stevie Nicks who lived in the same house. I bought my house from Stevie Nicks. Oh my God, you know me so well. But
exactly, you can.
But the craft.
Back to the craft.
Back to the craft. The craft that you saw in the Stella documentary, I don't know. So, in my mind, I guess there's three possibilities, right? Like, everybody's lying. Only some of the people are lying.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's lying. Those are the kind of the three possibilities, right? Like, and then you just kind of go down those paths. But I don't know, Peter. I don't know how I can convert myself into a believer.
You have to have an experience.
That's what I'm saying. Without an experience.
Yeah.
We'll have to have a ghost team come down to your two houses and check that out some night. See what activity going on.
Go to
there.
Kenny's house.
Yeah, Kenny's house. Just go there. Yeah. And
one of our hosts,
I think
one of my part timers, had a murder. There was a murder in his house at one point during its history, and there's a lot of activity there.
I think you met Ken last time before the show. Did you meet him?
The young man that was in the booth.
That was Brady,
the older young man with the ponytail.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I wish I could. I guess I just always think that there's other explanations, right? Like,
and you try to do that, and that's what investigators do. They're not going like, "Oh my God, there's a ghost here."
Yeah.
No one's saying that. They're saying, and I remember sitting on some reviews myself, seeing something on camera. We're watching something move, some light coming through. We're running it back, watching it. And then we realized, checking other camera angles, that it was somebody with a flashlight out the hallway, right? Something real stupid. There's an answer.
Yeah.
There's an answer for something that didn't appear to be normal. And you try to do that, and you eliminate, what was that saying? You're the English teacher, the Sherlock Holmes, was you eliminate the impossible, and what remains is
the probable.
No matter, the probable. And that's sort of the same thing. We try to eliminate what we can, and whatever's left is either just something unanswered or, as Peter mentioned, the Thursday morning host doesn't say definitively there's a ghost. He says there's something going on we can't debunk.
Peter, what is the name of that man in the 1980s who got a whole lot of grief? He got hired at Area 51. I'm having a little blank on his name.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. Yeah, I know. I can't remember his name either. He came out and allegedly he worked at the Area 51 because then there wasn't confirmation. Nobody would say that he actually worked there.
Nobody would confirm that, right? Like, that would be something you don't confirm.
Like, it doesn't exist, so they wouldn't confirm it.
Exactly.
All those signs along the boundaries, yeah.
But he wasn't a nobody, right? Like, he was a legit engineer. He was a legit propulsion engineer.
Didn't he work for Lockheed or one of the contractors?
Bob Lazar.
Bob Lazar, right? Mm-hmm. And he talked about gravity propulsion engines and things of that nature, and he made the rounds, and of course, to bring it back to what you said earlier, there has been, particularly towards the end of 2024, there was a lot of conversation, right? There was Senate reports. They were looking at this UAV thing. They were promising to reveal records. There was a lot of content on podcasts of various people who had been in federal service, for alphabet agencies. I mean, for those of you who don't know, like, alphabet agencies is just like sort of a general term for all the FBI, CIA,
NSA,
DOD, NSA, all the three-letter agencies that the federal government has or had. Mm-hmm. And all those guys have made the rounds on talk shows and talking about, we've seen things, we know things, but nothing's ever been released. You know, the TikTok video, they released a TikTok video and we're off to the races with people describing what's happening there. And it could be this and it could be that and it could be the angle. It's impossible that they, you know, I saw multiple interviews with David Fravor where he talked about how impossible it is that craft would move how it moved and turn how it turned, and its ability to, like, a human body could not have sustained the G's of that TikTok turning. It would have, you know, turned the person inside into jelly. So maybe it's unmanned or maybe it's high technology. I don't know. There was so much interesting stuff. But in the end, what do we have in front of us today in terms of evidence? Nothing, right? We just have that conversation that we heard last year. What are your thoughts on that, Peter?
Oh, I was just reading about Bob Lazar. You might have to bring me back up to speed.
Oh, the final. I was basically saying that there was a lot of talk about UFOs last year.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Why though? Well,
And-
why the timing? Because the government doesn't do much by accident. They don't.
I don't know.
No, you haven't worked for the federal government.
Well, yeah, but there's timed releases, and the thing is, when everybody's saying the same thing, I consider that a psyop. It's psychological operation to get people ready for or conditioned for something.
And that's what a guy named Brett Weinstein was saying. He was saying, like, this. It's possible that this is a psyop, right? It's possible that they're releasing all this information because it's fascinating,
But it's also getting people ready for something.
perhaps. But it's fascinating. It could distract from something else. Or what you just said, right? They drip it out so that we can start processing. We as a species can.
It's not a shock to the system.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Those small doses.
But I'm still waiting to hear the news. Like, where is it? You know, where is the
What's going on?
craft?
Yep.
Well, I'm telling you, if you want to get into a rabbit hole, the Y-Files, he tells the story, tells the legend, and then on the back half of it, he explains either what he found or what he didn't find, and does it the legend hold up, or does the story hold up? And it's very entertaining. So it goes along.
Write that down. Y files. You can check that.
Y files. Okay, how do
He
you
has
spell it?
millions,
Yeah.
WHY,
Okay, so like, yeah, got it.
and he has millions of subscribers, and I found it to be very well done and very well produced, and it's
just like you
it's
said.
it's just asking the question. Like, he will not hesitate to hammer the government when it's warranted, or just say, hey, that might be the best source of information, or do I believe them because they release so much misinformation or misdirection information?
I'll have
know?
to just jump in. This is just silly observation. Y files. You said WHY, and I'm sitting there. I went the other way. I'm thinking of the letter Y, which follows from the X.
Right.
Right. X file, Y files.
Oh.
Yeah. That's kind of where I was going, but still on target. But interesting.
I
Yeah.
actually thought it was Y too.
Did
like
you?
the letter Y,
See.
but not because of
Yeah.
the X Files. I just thought it doesn't matter.
No, it's okay. That's-
Until I guess my basic posture is I would love to see something,
experience something.
to experience something, or to have the evidence put in front of me, or to have an admission by folks who know, like, here's what we found, here's what we have. We had a crashed craft is what I wanted to say. We have the remains of a non-earthly being that came to Earth, and we found the remains in the crashed ship, or when I see something like that, I'm gonna start to have to think about it in a totally different way. But until I do, right? Like, I don't know. I don't know how to think about it else. But, like, okay, I don't know. I'm gonna put it aside because what do I do with it?
But maybe not aliens. Maybe somebody moving from another dimension, a parallel world or universe, or as somebody put recently, which is kind of humorous but interesting, perhaps they are time travelers from our own future coming back on a vacation excursion to see the past, and they've created a wrinkle in time when you see the ship or the craft, and kind of mucked up that vacation packages for the next group. I don't know.
I was listening to Doesn't Matter Who, and they had a physicist on there, and I guess the consensus is that, and who knows, right? Again, consensus about a theory. Okay, great. But the consensus is that if you and I go back to yesterday, we cannot stop you and me from appearing on this show, because that's the big question, right? That's always like the conversation question. If you went back into the past, would you stop Hitler? Right? Like that's that's the way the question usually,
classic,
or any baddie.
classic, plot line for many novels, movies, and things.
Did you guys ever watch Doctor Who? Seriously?
Yeah.
Too
this
long
is-
ago to remember.
No, not the old versions, like when it was rebooted about 10 or
but-
15 years ago.
The 10th, 11th, 9, 10, 11 Doctors.
Yes.
Yeah.
These are storylines that are happening all the time in Doctor
Yep.
Who.
I'm in also more bigger movies like Terminator, right? Like Terminator explored this one as well. The one with oh goodness, who's the actress that played in Game of Thrones? There, the blonde woman from Game of Thrones, the princess, the empress. She was in one of the Terminator movies where they talked about this concept that I was just about to explain, which is to say that if you and I go back to yesterday to stop you and me from having
Doing
the
this
show
show.
today,
Yep.
that's not what would happen. What would happen, in fact, is that we would create a brand new timeline. And the old timeline,
Is it
where
right?
you and I meet today and have this podcast, occurs in an parallel.
Alternate. Right.
Yeah, parallel dimension.
This is
In a parallel
this is
dimension.
sort of the Back to the Future time paradox. When
But-
your head was ready to explode, Back to the Future too. Yeah.
But my problem with time travel is, and has always been, the problem with Einstein's old EMC square equation, right? I think of time as a human construct, kind of like we say, the scoring in football. Like the scoring in football is not a rule of physics. It's something that we cooked up. We divided the day into 24 hours because it seemed to fit. We divided the year into 12 months because it seemed to fit.
Right.
And other civilizations, the Chinese, the Mexicans, the I shouldn't say Mexican, the Aztec, they had different calendars
right.
based on different
Perceptions.
exactly slices of that pie.
It's how we perceive it, how we feel it should be broken up.
Exactly.
It's a construct of our
a construct
of our
human-
culture,
of our culture, of ourselves. Okay, so now we take a concept like Einstein, and he says, okay, if you move at the speed of light, you move so fast, or if you move around the black hole, the black hole has such gravitational pull that it actually changes the time from the point of view of the people left behind, not from the point of view of the traveler, and the traveler returns younger than the people he left or she left, right? So why would that possibly be true? And when you first learn about E equals MC squared, you don't find out that the C is a made up universal constant that was put in there to kind of fudge and make the equation work. And the equation clearly works because physics has built on it to do nuclear weapons and propulsion and whatever else they've done with it. So the equation is not dumb. But what if it only works by accident, right? The same way that accidentally we might make cheese from milk. And we thought, oh, the gods have made this milk into cheese. Thank you, gods. But you just didn't realize that it was a physical property of the bacteria in the milk that had started this process, right? If you don't know, this goes back to any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. If you don't know that there's bacteria, which of course people didn't until, 150 years ago or so, microscopic creatures, you will assign it to aliens or God or whatever it is like that. And meanwhile, no, it doesn't, the speed of light doesn't change time, right? There's something else going on in your equation that you don't know. And I'm not smart enough this is one of the things I dream about. I dream about having some professors from local universities. We have some fantastic universities here in Mass, and I'd love to have some professors who could come on here and sort of talk to us, not like exactly like we're dumb, but more like, okay, you're a smart student. You don't know what I know, but you ask good questions. Let me try to help you see some processes to answer that question.
So bringing in the psychology professor, the biology professor, which could bring us to another topic, because we were kind of, what's inside of dudes' minds? This is a question from a female, and absolutely nothing, I think, is the answer. It's
no, I totally disagree. No, I couldn't disagree.
Nothing she wants to hear about anyway.
Peter, I just want to
movies, Doctor Who. It's aliens, ghosts. That's it. That's pretty much music, movies. It's Stevie Nicks. That's it. That's all. It's all.
There's a meme, Peter. we will never abandon the topic of aliens. Okay?
Oh, no,
we will
we'll come
return
back.
to it again and again and again. But apparently, my
Oh,
my
there-
erstwhile co-host is moving on to this question that he finds interesting. What is the inside? What is going on the inside of dudes' minds? And I'm gonna
Not
let me
much.
Disagree.
That's close, yeah.
Disagree.
Women will tell you not much.
disagree with that.
Yeah, that was my joke too. Nothing going on or
Here's my take on that. The same thing that is inside women's mind, right? It's just not happening at the same time. Whatever insecurities a woman has, a man might have. Whatever we call it baggage, but it's not. I don't like that word. It's got kind of a negative connotation because you can have positive baggage, but you can have it's the inertia of your history. The things you've gone through turn you into who you are,
Right.
and make you think in a certain way. So I think that when I'm going to focus on this young woman. I think when this woman says what is on the inside of a dude's mind, what she really means is this. I don't understand this person. I would like to understand this person. Their life experience is so different than mine, and they're so not willing to share or unable to share that we can't have a meeting of the minds, right? Like, you and I have had literally hours worth of conversations, and we've gone, sort of willy-nilly, but we've gone through topic after topic after topic and exchanged our views on it. And after, 100 hours of talking about various things, we start to have an outline of who Rich is and what he believes in, or who Alex is and what he believes in. And then there's also change that happens constantly.
And the next thing that usually happened was, shoot, we got to go back to work.
Yes, that is usually the conversation.
But I think
killer.
there's an old joke, and the joke, and I think I mentioned this to Peter the other day on the other show, that women worry until they get married, men don't worry until they do. And you kind of laugh at that.
That's
but
a
there's
fun
some truth to
generalization.
that. There's
Yeah.
some truth to that based on some different, perceptions, right? A lot of women, let's get married, settle down, start a family. They're worrying, they're trying to find that right partner, somebody that's going to respect them, treat them fairly as a full partner, is going to be a good provider, at least for their 50%, of the equation, be a good parent, whatever. And guys are like, la, 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 here we go. Like, we're worrying about building a career, going out, doing our thing. And we kick in once we get to that point. So she's already identified, just analyzing some comedians' comment, she's gotten to that point where there's the partner, here's the guy, this is good, I'm good, don't need to worry, got him going there. Then we're like, oh my God, I've got a spouse and kids, a mortgage. Now I can't tell my boss to take a hike. I have to make sure I'm doing my job, doing this. How can I make more money? Do I need to clean the gutters? Did I do that yet? I can't remember. I was watching Doctor Who or listening to the podcast with Alex and Rich, and it was really good.
Which
and
is
I got
time
sidetracked.
spent.
Exactly. Come clean the garage. I'm sorry. I'm listening to the RNA show.
The RNA.
So. But interesting. I think basically what's in our minds, I don't know if it's in our minds, but I think we pretty much want the same basic thing that our female companions want, and that's basic respect. We want to be taken seriously, want people to listen to us. Also,
Be
we want
cared
people
for,
to be there, be there to support us too.
Of course.
And it's I think really the same things all human beings want, right? With basically the basic needs being met, and the psychological needs of, again, being respected, being heard, being partnered. So aside from that, no, the rest of it is sci-fi, music, sports, and everything else. It's
Cars.
all- cars,
Yeah,
cars,
most of
cars, rocket ships, aliens, ghosts,
When we had Craig
wild
and-
animals.
When we had Craig here,
Craig and Rob.
a
Craig and
few-
Rob.
a
Yep.
few weeks ago, I mentioned a guy that I met in college who was very influential to my thinking, Dr. William Newell. Dr. William Newell, the chances that you are listening to this are infinitesimally small, but maybe you'll hear it. He had a bunch of interesting expressions, right? One of them was, there's only 10 original jokes. I think I quoted that one the last time.
Mm-hmm.
But another one that really fits with what we're talking about right now is this. The root of all psychosis is word poverty. The root of all psychosis is word poverty. So in his mind, the inability to express yourself, or the lack of vocabulary to express exactly what you're thinking, is a barrier to sharing truth, or if I can't say what I really think and feel to you, Rich, for whatever reason, maybe because I'm not comfortable, maybe because I think you're going to judge me, maybe because I don't have the words for it, right? He called that word poverty, and I think a lot of what we're talking about is, to piggyback on what you said, there's a certain set of things that we all want. We want to have trust. We want to be trusted, and we want to trust. We want to be, companionship. We want to be cared for. We want to have some support in XYZ things that we're doing. But beyond that, there's that Maslow hierarchy of needs thing, right? Where when you get past air, water, shelter, food, now you want to kind of get to know somebody else. But if you have this word poverty and you can't share, then you can have somebody like this nice young lady who has perhaps met because she clearly had somebody in mind when she said that, right? And she met somebody who was unable to use words. They had word poverty for some reason, no fault of their own. This is
Right.
not a judgment. And they were unable to share or open up or transmit information, however you want to phrase it. To her, that read like, this person is making decisions and saying things that make no sense whatsoever. To the person who's saying the crazy things, they made all the sense in the world. Like, of course I'm going to say that.
And that's
Here's
the,
my
re-
train
the re-
of thought.
that's the reception, right, of the receiver, is that this is crazy. It's not making sense. And you do see that between the sexes sometimes too. Just I don't know why. Maybe that is again a social cultural aspect where
Because it's hard to talk to
it's
people.
hard to talk to people in general now.
It's hard.
More so, I
Always,
think.
yeah.
The pandemic
Sorry.
added to that. No, the pandemic added to that. It's hard for a lot of people that may be shy, who aren't finding those words, who are nervous. So you shut down. So the word poverty, or the verbal poverty is situational. It depends on if you and I are talking. That may not be the case. If we're talking to somebody else, we may stumble like I'm doing now, right? Trying to choose our words, trying to find the path forward to relay our intent or what information we want to share. If it's, and we're not playing psychologist, there's a disclaimer, right?
I am.
Or you are, but I'm definitely not. So, but no, but
I stated it all in
from that,
express.
from a relationship standpoint, be it romantic, friendship, developing, professional, where you need to rely on somebody to be able to trust them and communicate with them, that's there again can be a big nervousness. A lot of people are not used to speaking to others other than the good morning. Wow, great meatloaf. Whatever is going on, real minor, in passing conversation, and have not had the opportunity for various reasons. Maybe they're homeschooled, maybe they're just very, incredibly shy, introverted. Maybe they've
been through bad things.
They've been through bad things,
had
bad
their trust
experiences.
betrayed by
very,
humans.
just very nervous around people and had a hard time making friends for whatever reason. So they come by it honestly. It's they may be able to sit and do a podcast and share all the knowledge in the world and all the feelings through this medium rather than face to face. So the answer, of course, is we don't know what's going on. Everyone's different, and I don't think there's a lot of difference between dudes and girls. I think it's
I
again
believe
based
the
on
word
what
you're
you're
looking
saying.
for is dudettes.
Dudettes is that the
Dudettes.
appropriate
Yes,
phrase?
yes, that's the.
Dudes and dudettes. Yes.
I
Or
agree.
we do actress. We'll just do dudes. So no, it's and again based on what you're saying too. I think it is again perspective, experience, upbringing, exposure, culturally, societally.
And there's another. It takes effort, right? You can't. I'm switching away from moving about
Sure.
her, but if you touched on this really well. If you go on a date with a new person, I don't even want to say date because that brings up romance, and romance is yet another level of complexity
Yep.
in a relationship.
Going to lunch, just have like a
You
lunch
go to
date.
lunch, like you and I go to lunch, right? when I was your employee and I first met you before we started talking, of course I'm going to chew with my mouth closed and be polite. And, I mean, I try to be polite anyway, but you know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
I'm not going to try to make a bad impression upon you, right? And so it takes effort to work with a person until they're able, a conversation is a two-way piece of work, right? The person sharing ideas, the person speaking, so to speak, has to try to be clear, but the other person has to use some techniques to let the person know that they're listening, they're receptive, they're not judging, they're gonna, they want to hear more. Asking questions is one. You and I don't like. You and I kind of are able to talk fairly well, hopefully fairly clearly. You guys let us know. But one easy thing to do is just I do it all the time when I talk to, in business conversation, and I say, I use the same technique over and over again. I always say this: I am hearing you say that you want to talk about aliens. Is that what you really want to talk about? And so this technique is generally, I think, called parroting, right? Where you parrot back or you mirror the person's words back. And that does two things, right? It lets them know you were listening, and you're also usually asking a question which prompts them to tell you more. So now you're telling them, hey, I'm paying attention to your ideas, and also, could you clarify that one particular thing?
Confirming understanding,
Yes.
and as well as reception of the message.
And now I'm opening up the door. Give me more, Rich. Give me, talk more about that thing. So if somebody is not doing that with the other person, if they're not doing the things that need to be done to build trust so that the other person can open up, and if that person has some word poverty, of course you're going to get into a situation where it's really easy to say, well, they're just crazy and they're a guy, so all guys are crazy. But these are generalizations, and they need to be thought about thoroughly, because generalizations are usually flawed. Right? People aren't person. Groups aren't person. Speaking of which, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
This is just one quick thing. I saw a great quote attributed to Winston Churchill. There is no such thing as public opinion. There is only printed opinion. By which I understand public opinion is a myth. A group of people never thinks the same thing again. It's the author who has read books and talked to people, and now they're going to synthesize their impression of all those conversations and all those ideas and say, people believe that we should stop eating oranges. Everybody feels very strongly about this. No more oranges. They're too orange. Okay, but that's not what person believes. That's just that one guy.
Right.
You don't know what. We have 340 million people in this country. You really think everybody agrees about oranges? Probably not. Anyway,
not.
I'm sorry to go down that.
Oh,
route.
no, that's important. But we're just talking about so what's going on inside dudes' minds. Probably similar to what's going on inside of girls or
Got to ask
dudettes'
them questions
minds, right?
and find out.
And yeah, exactly. It's just going to engage and kind of do that. It's a great question. It really is, and it's not something obviously we're going to answer. But we had an interesting discussion, and there's something going on in there, unless of course there are no minds, because
There's no mind.
unless there's no mind in there because of.
I feel like there's zombies. I think this is so.
We're moving in, segueing into the next topic. Look at this.
Rich has.
This might be the last topic.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah.
I don't know if we even want to talk about zombies today, because that's going to be another one. But Peter, you haven't chimed in on the old "what's in dudes' minds" thing. Do you want to?
I think women haven't seemed to understood that men are very simple. They have very simple wants and desires. They're very, very plain about it. They don't. There's no guile there. They tell you what they want. At least I do. Maybe I'm rare, but they tell you what they want, and women are like, oh well. The thing is with women, I've noticed over my years is they give you hints, but they don't always tell you bluntly what they want. So when men tell them bluntly what they want, they don't. The women don't believe them.
They think it's a hint.
They think it's
and
a
again,
hint.
That's how we
And
were
so that's
brought
why
up
we're
type
different.
thing, yeah.
But we're different. We're constructed differently. Our psyche is different. Our role in raising children or being in society is different because we're wired differently. And it's not real complicated. I tell my wife, I'm like, she's like, well, you know, I want to come in and move in and I want to do this decorating. What do you think about it? Don't care. Just tell me where everything is. You can do whatever you want to make it feel a home for you. And she keeps telling me like, hey, what do you think about doing this? I keep telling you the same answer. You just tell me where the stuff ends up.
Where do you want it?
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter to me that you want this to be blue and that to be green and, or you know, or these kind of faceplates here. None of that matters to me. I have a roof over my head. I have heat and light, and I know where all the cooking utensils are. I'm good. And she still doesn't believe me to this day.
So that sounds to me like a little bit like in the vein of what I was saying, like you are now in the process of sharing information about yourself.
Yep.
And whatever her life experience is, she's not ready to kind of like fully hear you.
But no, it's not even. She hears me quite nicely, but men and women are wired differently. We're just different, and the communication part is, I'm telling you, there's no subtext, there's no add-ons, there's no nothing. I'm good with it, and she doesn't believe me because that's how. And this is almost every woman I've encountered over my life, whether it be my mom, my grandmom, to people I've dated, it's all the same. I give it straight. And they're like, you sure? You positive? Is that your final answer? And that's just how we're just wired differently.
This reminds me of a question, and the question is essentially the same, although the subject it can change. And see if I'm tracking you, Peter. You'll get a question sometimes like, doesn't Chinese food sound good?
Sure.
Yeah, either sure or no, I'd rather have a burger. But the real message is I want Chinese food.
Right.
Right. But
It's like whatever
trying to,
you want.
It's trying to build a consensus. And I think that's part of the nurturing,
Right.
what happens with women. They're trying to bring you in. And I said that it could be like, oh, wouldn't it be great to go to a Duran Duran concert? I remember that question specifically
Which
back
the
in the
answer
day.
is almost always no, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
That's what the answer was, and that created a whole different issue. But that's like, no, that's not what we want to do. Strangely enough, that was a girl who was with me in the car with the
really?
UFO.
With
so
the
yeah,
UFO, yeah.
say it all comes back. But yeah, it's I've heard that. So I usually hear, I've learned like, oh, Chinese is what she wants. So let's go to Asian buffet or
The worst
whatever.
question you can ever ask a woman is, what are you in the mood for? Because you'll get, I don't know, what are you thinking?
Whatever you want.
What are you thinking?
Yeah, whatever you
No,
want.
I asked the
I
question
want
to you.
Italian. No, that's not it.
I asked,
You
the
just-
que- I asked the question to you because it doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, right.
I need something that will
answer
sustain
is-
me for the next 24 hours.
The answer is the multi-variety buffet. So everybody can get what they want. It's all ready. You don't have to wait.
Well,
All
that's
done.
the easy way out.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Let's be honest here. That's the easy way
That's
out.
the easy way out. Exactly. Why make it harder than it has to be?
I still
That's why the dating game and the wedding game,
God.
the newlywed game,
Yes.
we're so entertaining.
Yeah.
Because
Oh,
you watch that
absolutely.
wiring on
Yeah.
display
Yeah.
right in front of you and you go, man, you didn't see that one coming? Or you did and they're just
You
wired differently.
reverted back to instinct or something. Yeah.
I still hear you. I still hear you saying that you are in the middle of the process of explaining to her who you are, and her explaining to you who she is. And I do recognize. I don't think. I agree with some of the things you're saying because I do recognize my own wife. She will ask me, "What do you want for dinner?" And I will say,
Food.
Chinese.
Yeah.
And she'll say, not Chinese. But a moment
you're
ago,
right. I didn't
it
want
was
that.
wide open. It was wide open. What do you want? I want Chinese. Like, no, not Chinese. Okay.
There's a
Well,
really good comedian, Jeff Allen,
yeah.
who talks about his relationship with his wife over the years, and it's dry, so it's not, there's no dirty or anything, but his relationship with his wife is funny because I think they're both very funny people, but he's spot on. Like everything he talks about is spot on, and he's getting older now. I think they have grandkids, and it's just spot on. I just laugh, and I'm like sitting there going, "Yep, oh yeah, yep, absolutely, yep."
I feel like if you keep plugging away, a pattern will emerge, because what I'm hearing you talking about is, I'm hearing you talk about patterns, right? She has a pattern, you have a pattern. I have a pattern, my wife has a pattern. And sometimes, like, one of the things that I'm really good at is I can finish her sentence really easy. Even when it's something really obscure, I can kind of tell by her physical posture. Oh, I think she's referring back to that conversation we had a week ago, because we're in this room that we talked, whatever, contextual clues. But other times there is no contextual clue, and I don't do a good job with it, right? So when I don't do a good job, to me, all that means is that I haven't thought hard enough about the pattern of who she is. Like, in a way, I don't mean to make it sound this dry, but in a way, it's an equation, right? What you experienced as a child, who your parents were, who you chose for friends, what movies or, like you said, comedians that you've listened to, who has shaped your thinking. That is all specific to you. That is not. It's very unlikely that you and I will have all the same experiences with all the same comedians, and you'll like.
Yeah,
the movie.
absolutely. Yeah, I agree with you.
So we're parallel but apart because of our experiences, but we do have experiences, and those experiences reveal themselves as a pattern of behavior. And so if you watch somebody long enough, and you care about them enough to actually watch and remember, because that's another piece of the puzzle, right? We're tired, we're frustrated with work, we have appointments to get to, and so we're not at 100% attention rate. But if you can pay attention over the years, you will see a pattern, and that pattern might be, hey, perhaps, I'm just suggesting, the woman will perhaps compromise where she wants to eat, because what she really cares about is you being happy when you go out to dinner, because she knows that if you have a good time at dinner, you're going to be pleasant later on that evening when you watch TV with her, right? So what she's not clear about what she's doing, but inside her mind, she's very clear. I'm going to make Alex happy at dinner, because then he'll be in a better mood later, and he'll be more likely to do the things that I want him to do, whatever those things are, right? And vice versa. Your main thing is like, well, we have to make a decision now. The decision is what restaurant we go to, and why are you not engaging in this decision with me? Why do you keep saying like whatever you want when you're the one who asked me? It's because the goals haven't been revealed yet.
Exactly. Her goal is to satisfy your need
make
or
you happy.
interest, make you
Yeah.
happy, which is yours as well. You want to make sure she's there, and you're not coming together on that. You have essentially parallel goals.
Exactly. And your goal is to make her happy, but she's not playing along with you because she won't answer where she wants to go. So now you're frustrated because you're like, you're trying to solve what you perceive as a problem. You perceive that she's not helping in that process. She is helping in that process, just
Right.
not the way you think it should go.
And going forward,
Yeah.
the only person who's not in trouble is Rich,
He will be
because
in
he
trouble.
doesn't have to
yeah.
go.
Exactly. At this point, I'm not in trouble, but
He's
that
been in
could- that
trouble
could-
before, though.
Yes, I have. Yes.
And in the future,
In the future, that can happen. Yeah, with back to time travel. Yes, or parallel worlds. I could be in trouble right now in a parallel world.
and
Oh my gosh.
And to spin it back to scouting. By the way, when I said hello to the audience this evening, I forgot to tell everyone that we are of course brought to you by the Western Mass Council, which is the governing body of many troops of scouts here in the
4 counties
in
of
4
Western
counties.
Massachusetts.
And scouting, getting out and building a fire and hanging out with humans and watching humans interact is the best way to learn how to interact with humans. And it is hard. It is hard to interact with humans, especially at first. But the more you do it, the easier it gets, because you.
In some of our points, we talk about, again, the scouting values too, being friendly and courteous, when that ties into the relationships, what's going on in people's minds, male or female, being respectful, courteous.
I didn't laugh at you many years ago when you
yeah.
told me the alien story, the
the
UAV
UFO,
story,
yeah.
the UFO
Yeah.
story. I didn't laugh at you about it because I knew that would insult you. I don't want to insult you, period, ever. But especially about that subject. I'm interested in it. I wanted to know more. So I have to watch my reaction to you so that I give you the opportunity to talk more about it without making you feel like, oh, this guy's going to make fun of me the rest of the week. No, I'm not going to betray that confidence. You told me something that, maybe you're self-conscious about it. Maybe you think like, if I tell people, they'll make fun of me. Well, I'm not going to engage in the thing that prevents you from sharing that story or another one like it with me. And you learn that by being with people. I think I said at some point to you, I think I said that everything I have that's good in my life is, more or less connected to the Air Force. That's not 100% true, but it is true 80%.
Yeah, there's a lot of good in that. You're dealing with people.
To that point, I was a teacher. I was exposed to literally thousands of young people, right? And many hundreds of grown people who were also teachers. But it wasn't until I was exposed to hundreds of people in the Air Force, all trying to pull together to accomplish some task, whether it's aircraft maintenance or, loading the aircraft or building, whatever the heck the task was. We're all of us have to pull together. We need people who buy things. We need somebody to cook food and feed us. We need somebody to deliver oil. The Air Force says that there's no menial jobs, right? And people like to make fun of that, but there really isn't menial jobs.
No.
Like without food, you're not fixing that aircraft.
Everything has a purpose in there, just as life itself. Everything has a purpose. And you're right. We're not
Scouting's
making
a place
fun,
to learn some of that
and
stuff.
we're teaching these kids values of being kind, right? You're not making fun of somebody because of a difference of opinion, difference of experience. You're being respectful. You're listening to them, being courteous, giving them a chance to talk. You're being helpful with people. Another one of our Scout laws and values. We're just trying to impart these
Values.
values.
That's the word.
Impart these on young people while they're having a good time learning. Like, hey, look, I know Morse code. Hey, I can start a fire with 2 sticks on a rock.
Awesome.
Yeah, exactly. They're learning some skills. They're getting out there. They're meeting peers. They're developing relationships. We're seeing again young people that have trouble communicating.
Which is all young people.
All young people. And we're finding, again, and we brought this up, I think, in a previous show, but it ties back to what's going on in dudes' minds. We're seeing this with the young ladies we've had in scouting for about 6-7 years now.
Yeah.
And, we have options, and those are, a girl troop, a boy troop, or a co-ed troop. And that's based on the organization, the church, or the sponsoring body that chooses we want to do co-ed or single gender, whichever way they prefer, based on their needs in the community and in servicing young people. But we're seeing what's going on in dudes' minds. Well, these kids are learning, these 11, 18-year-olds, crucial point in their lives, right?
Super crucial.
Are learning in the same program, even if they're separated in boy and girl troops. They're learning sort of what's going on in dudes' minds. The girls definitely are. And if the guys are paying attention, they're seeing what's going on in the girls' minds at that age, how they're thinking, how they react. And I think I mentioned this story at an event we had, kids coming to a first aid station quick. There's a scenario, someone's hurt, you need to build a stretcher, you need to apply first aid, move them out of the scene. And the boys are whacking each other with sticks and goofing around doing things. And the girls are like, okay, do this. They're assigning tasks. And they jumped on it. The boys had to waste 5 minutes goofing off. And the girls got right to the task. Then they goofed off afterwards. So interesting to watch what's going on. Just the way, as Peter said, wired differently, watching how they approach a project or a task, what they see as important. Their job was, let's figure out what we're doing, get it done first, then we'll have fun. The guys are like, let's have some fun, then we'll get to work. And that's just in that case, and that's not applied to everything, but we're seeing that, and that's a communication, that's a respect, that's learning some things about yourself and each other. So those are some of the things we're trying to do with these people.
Could agree. Do you know the old expression, how do you get to Carnegie Hall?
But practice, I believe.
Practice.
Yes.
Practice,
Yes.
practice,
Yes,
practice.
practice, practice. So
I was going to say turn left at Greenland. That's a different joke.
but that's what life is, right? It's a form of practice. And so scouting, we get these folks together, they get to watch each other, they practice being around humans, which, yes, in modern society, maybe it's decreased, but it hasn't gone away. It's
Right.
just decreased a little bit. And I'm going to sneeze. I think it's going to be real loud. Let's hope not.
That's bless you.
So we're providing an opportunity for people to come together and practice those people skills, right? Watch. We know from developmental psychologists that boys' minds, the neurons inside of boys' minds tend to take a few years longer to reach the level of completeness that they reach in a young female's mind. So,
Right.
So a layperson's way of saying that is that boys are 3 years less mature than girls, right? That's sort of like
A generalization.
a
Again. We know there's,
generalization, yes.
some truth in it, not 100%.
some truth, not all the truth.
Yep.
But that I think that fits with what you described, right? So you have more or less the same age, but the girls seem to behave a little bit more responsibly and a little bit more maturely. But that's not to say that they would always act that way. It's not to say that the boys will never act that way. It's just a function of where those individuals are at that particular moment in their developmental processes.
Right.
And again, scouting teaches values, teaches ways of understanding the world around you by being around other people. And I think that's the great.
Yeah, we teach values, skills, and while having fun, making new friends and having a good time. So I think that probably wraps up this episode.
Yeah, I think
we've.
Peter, do you
Yep.
want the last word?
No, I'm good.
No?
I don't need the last word.
And on that last word from Peter, no, he's good.
Yeah.
We hope you'll join us again for the next episode. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope you have a good
Thanks
night.
for tuning in. Take care.